In the heat of battle, a Sherman tank took 3 direct hits yet kept moving. Its secret lay in a welder's crooked seam, forged under tight deadlines and relentless pressure. This small flaw turned into an unexpected strength, a silent testament to the men behind the machines on the World War II battlefield. Spring of 1944 settled over the American Midwest, with a chill lingering in the air outside the factory gates. Inside the tank plant, harsh electric lights beat down on rows of Sherman tanks. Their steel hulls gleamed cold and unyielding beneath the fluorescent glare. The steady drone of machines filled the cavernous space, punctuated by the clatter of tools and the sharp hiss of welding torches. The factory floor was a world apart, where workers moved with practiced urgency. Men and women, faces streaked with grime and sweat, shifted between stations. The air smelled of hot metal, oil, and burning flux. Outside, the whistle of freight trains echoed faintly as they pulled loaded cars away from the yards. Workers hurried homeward under leaden skies, their footsteps sharp against the cracked pavement. Mary Foster stood at her welding station, her eyes fixed on the seam before her. She was a woman from Ohio, her dark hair pinned back beneath a worn cap. Her hands, roughened by months of relentless labor, gripped the torch with steady determination. Sweat gathered at her brow, and she wiped it away with the back of a glove, never pausing the weld. Every inch of seam mattered. Every joint was a potential line between life and death on distant battlefields. The pressure in the factory was constant. Supervisors moved along the aisles, calling out orders and inspecting work. The hum of conversation mixed with the metallic clangs as welders focused intently on their tasks. Mary's mind raced with the weight of responsibility, knowing that a single flaw meant a tank might fail when it mattered most. On one long shift, as the night stretched deep and tired muscles ached, Mary's torch slipped slightly. The weld ran just off true, a crooked line hidden beneath layers of paint. That tank was loaded onto a train, marked only by a serial number and the imperfect seam. It rolled away from the factory, bound for war, carrying with it the quiet burden of that small, unseen fault. Before dawn, the factory floor in Cleveland lay shrouded in dim shadows, the faint hum of machinery stirring in the cold morning air. Mary stood at her workbench, the sharp scent of metal mingling with the bitter aroma of fresh coffee wafting from a nearby break area. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a pale glow on the rows of heavy steel plates and tools arrayed before her. She lifted a well-worn welding helmet from the bench, its scratched visor reflecting the faint outline of tank components waiting to be assembled. Her fingers, wrapped in coarse gloves, trembled slightly as she picked it up. A quick inspection followed, checking the helmet's seams, the tightness of her gloves, the readiness of the torch resting beside her. Each piece of equipment was vital. A small failure could mean disaster. Behind her, the steady clatter of metal echoed in the cavernous space, punctuated by the sharp voice of her supervisor. "Keep those quotas up, every minute counts." The man's tone was hard, edged with impatience. His boots thudded as he paced past, eyes scanning the line for any sign of lagging. Mary's shoulders stiffened, but she said nothing. Her mind shifted briefly to the dark apartment waiting at home. Her son was sick again, coughing through the night, and sleep had been a stranger for 2 days. The exhaustion pressed on her chest like a weight, dull and persistent. Yet here in the factory, there was no room for fatigue. The welds had to hold. The seams, straight and clean, were the backbone of the tank. Mary exhaled slowly, steadying her hands. She leaned forward to the task at hand, joining steel plates on the side of tank number 309,847, a Sherman medium tank destined for the front. The torch sputtered to life, a harsh blue flame cutting through the morning darkness. Sparks flickered briefly, settling on the cold floor like fleeting fireflies. Her hand moved along the seam, the torch's heat melting the metal surfaces. But just then, a faint wobble appeared in the line of the weld. A twitch, subtle and barely perceptible. Mary's breath hitched, and a flicker of doubt crossed her face. The fabric of her concentration trembled with it. She stopped, lifted the helmet just enough to peer through the smoky visor. The seam was not perfect. A slight irregularity disrupted the uniformity required. Her heart sank. In this place, imperfections meant extra hours, or worse, scrap. Yet the clock was relentless. The line would not pause for hesitation. She sighed, the sound low and weary. The weight of her worries settled heavier. Her son unwell, the endless quotas, the unforgiving machinery, all pressed down on her. Still, the tank pressed forward, wheels rolling slowly along the assembly line, its bulk moving toward completion under the factory's harsh lights. Mary lowered her helmet and stepped away, hands shaking just slightly but steady enough to continue. Around her, the noise of the factory remained unchanged. Metal grinding, machines whirring, and voices shouting orders. No one noticed the tiny flaw on tank 309,847. No one would. The Sherman rolled toward the next station, its heavy silhouette outlined against the pale dawn light filtering through dusty windows. For Mary, the day stretched on, an endless rhythm of metal and sweat, duty and fatigue, beneath the indifferent hum of war's machinery. The ground was soft from recent rain, and patches of mud clung to the tank's tracks, masking the uneven seam that ran along its side. A group of mechanics in oil-stained overalls gathered around the tank as it came to a halt near a cluster of other armored vehicles. The air smelled faintly of diesel fuel, grease, and cold metal. Tools clattered against workbenches, and voices carried across the yard, mixing with the distant thump of engines and the occasional bark of a sergeant's orders. One mechanic crouched low to examine the hull, running a gloved hand over the fresh patch of dark green paint that disguised the seam. The repair was neat but uneven, a crooked line beneath the layer of mud and dust. No one spoke of it. It was just another patched-up tank, one more vehicle to return to the front. Sergeant Tom Bell appeared at the edge of the circle, his uniform crisp despite the grime of the journey. His face was weathered but steady, eyes sharp beneath a worn cap. He climbed the side ladder with the practiced ease of a man accustomed to this routine, his boots thudding softly on the metal. Inside the tank's cramped interior, the crew settled into their familiar positions. Bell's voice was low, but carried a hint of warmth as he addressed them. "All right, lads, let's get her ready. We've got shells to load and fuel to top off." Corporal James Harris grinned as he hefted a heavy shell, the metal cold and weighty in his hands. "This one's for the old farm back in Devon," he joked, his voice echoing off the tank's interior walls. Private Frank Miller chuckled, wiping sweat from his brow despite the cool air. "Bet your mum wishes you were still there, not out here with us," he said softly, loading a shell into the rack. Outside, a mechanic opened the fuel cap and began refilling the tank's fuel reservoir. The sharp scent of gasoline mixed with the faint tang of wet earth and oil. The steady hiss of the fuel flowing was punctuated by the crew's quiet exchanges. "Looks like she's good for another 100 miles, the mechanic said without looking up, his tone matter-of-fact. Bell nodded, his hands steady as he checked the gauges. "That'll have to do. We move out at first light." The men laced their helmets securely and adjusted their webbing, preparing for the journey ahead. The tank's radio crackled faintly, a brief burst of static breaking the quiet as messages passed between units. "You reckon this one'll bring us luck?" Miller asked, glancing at the patched seam that was barely visible beneath the smear of mud. Bell glanced toward the seam but said nothing. Instead, he smiled quietly and said, "Lucky Mary," as he tapped the side of the tank gently. The name hung in the air, a small talisman against the uncertainty of war. None of the men knew why it felt right, or if it made any difference at all. The tank was one among thousands, a single vehicle in a vast and terrible conflict. Yet in that moment, beneath the gray sky and the watchful eyes of the depot, the crew gave it a name and with it, a measure of hope. The sounds of the depot faded into a muted background as the men finished their preparations. The heavy hatch closed with a firm clang, sealing the crew inside the armored shell. Outside, the depot bustled on. Other tanks moved into position, Supply trucks rumbled past, and soldiers shouted orders. But inside Lucky Mary, the crew sat quietly, each man lost in his own thoughts, readying for the road ahead. The seam beneath the mud remained unseen, its crooked line a silent reminder of the repairs and resilience beneath the tank's armored skin. It was hidden unnoticed, just as the men preferred. Tom Bell's hand rested briefly on the control levers. "Let's bring her home," he said softly. The engine growled to life, and Lucky Mary began to roll forward, leaving the depot behind. The ground vibrated beneath the tracks, the weight of the tank pressing into the earth. The men shared a brief glance through the narrow viewport, a quiet acknowledgement passing between them. They carried more than shells. They carried years of training, memories of home, and the fragile hope that they might return. Outside, the morning mist clung low to the fields of Normandy, the distant sound of artillery a constant reminder of the battle yet to come. Inside, Lucky Mary moved steadily into the unfolding day, a single armored vessel among thousands, marked not by its scars, but by the hands that guided it. The first pale light of dawn sifted through the dense hedgerows of northern France, casting long, narrow shadows across the churned earth and tangled undergrowth. A mist hung low, clinging to the ground like a shroud, muffling sound and softening the shapes of trees and fields. Lucky Mary, the Sherman tank, crept forward with its platoon, rubber tracks grinding quietly over damp soil and fallen leaves. Inside the cramped hull, the air was cool and stale, heavy with the scent of oil and metal. The welds along the steel plates remained cold beneath the fingers, silent witnesses to countless battles. The engine's low rumble reverberated through the hull, a steady presence amid the stillness of the morning. Lieutenant Bell sat rigid in the commander's seat, eyes scanning the narrow slits of the periscope. His face was set pale in the muted light, the lines around his mouth drawn tight. He glanced at each member of his crew, noting the tension in their shoulders, the way their hands clenched and unclenched with nervous energy. Private Wilkes, the gunner, had his eyes fixed on the targeting sights, jaw clenched, fingers twitching near the trigger. Corporal Samuels, loader, shifted uneasily, the scrape of his glove against metal the only soft sound in the tank's interior. Behind them, two other men sat motionless, muscles taut beneath their uniforms, every breath measured and shallow. The radio crackled suddenly, breaking the fragile silence. A voice, clipped and precise, came through the static with the day's orders. Bell's jaw tightened further as he absorbed the instructions. Advance through the hedgerow country, maintain formation, watch for enemy positions. The words hung heavy in the confined space, setting the tempo for what lay ahead. Outside, the mist began to thin where the weak sunlight filtered through the branches. The landscape revealed itself slowly, a patchwork of muddy fields crisscrossed by narrow lanes and thick hedgerows, each a potential hiding place for enemy fire. The faint echo of distant artillery reached their ears, low booms rolling over the countryside like distant thunder, a constant reminder of the ongoing conflict. Bell's voice was low but firm, cutting through the tension. Wilkes' eyes sharp on the gun sights. Samuels, keep rounds ready. Steady now. We move on my mark. His gaze shifted briefly to the periscope again, searching for any sign of movement beyond the foliage. The tank lurched forward, rubber tracks gripping the soft earth. The crew felt each jolt as they crossed ruts and stones, the metal hull creaking quietly under strain. The rhythmic thump of the engine was a steady heartbeat, a reminder of their fragile protection against the world outside. Wilkes adjusted the gun sights, the cold steel smooth beneath his fingertips. The nervousness in his shoulders was visible in the slightest tremor, but his eyes remained fixed on the narrow viewfinder. Samuel's hands moved with practiced precision, loading shells with a quiet efficiency born of repetition and necessity. Radio chatter continued sporadically, commands and updates passing between tanks in the platoon. Bell listened closely, his expression unreadable, absorbing every detail. The knowledge that each decision could mean life or death pressed heavily on him. Outside, the hedgerows loomed closer, impenetrable walls of earth and thorny branches. The tank's tracks crushed undergrowth, snapping twigs and stirring the damp scent of moss and wet leaves. The crew heard the faint rustle of wildlife disturbed by their passage, a bird's sudden flight, the scurry of small creatures into hiding. Within the confined space, the men exchanged few words. Their communication was mostly in brief nods and subtle signals, the weight of unspoken fears shared in silence. Bell's hand briefly brushed the radio microphone, steadying himself before sending a short report up the chain. His voice was measured, betraying none of the strain beneath. The platoon moved as one, slow and deliberate. Each tank a hulking sentinel pushing through the quiet countryside, casting long shadows in the early light. The distant gunfire grew gradually louder, mingling with the crunch of tracks and the metallic clangs inside the tanks. Bell caught sight of a flicker beyond the trees, a flash of movement, too quick to be sure. His hand gripped the controls tighter. The tension in the hull was tangible, as if the tank itself anticipated what lay ahead. Despite the fear, there was also a grim determination. Each man knew their role, committed to the advance with steady resolve. The cold steel walls enclosed them both physically and mentally, a small world where survival depended on discipline and trust. As Lucky Mary pressed forward, the morning light grew stronger, burning away the last wisps of mist. The landscape unfolded before them, harsh and unyielding. The distant sounds of war echoed steadily, a reminder of the path they had chosen and the burden they carried. Inside the tank, the welds remained silent and strong. Bell's eyes never wavered from the periscope. The men around him awaited the next command, the next moment when their courage would be tested anew. The advance continued, slow and steady, through the hedgerow country at dawn. The sudden blast shattered the morning quiet. A German 75 shell slammed against the Sherman's steel hull. The impact threw the tank into a violent shudder. Inside, the metal groaned and buckled, sharp sparks flared against the dim interior. The shockwave rattled the air. Dust exploded in fine clouds around the crew compartment. The four men froze, their bodies rigid with sudden tension. Heartbeats thundered in their ears, drowning out the distant rumble of battle. The radio crackled once, then fell completely silent. A heavy, unnatural quiet settled inside the tank's cramped space. Bell's voice broke the stillness, sharp and urgent. "Report!" His breath came fast, eyes scanning the others. No one spoke for a tense moment. The silence felt like a second grenade waiting to go off. Slowly, the crew began to assess their condition. None showed visible injury. No blood, no groans. Mary's hand brushed the hull near the point of impact, where a crooked seam carried the brunt of the shell's strike. The metal was bent and scorched, but still held firm. The tank's armor had absorbed the blast. The hull's integrity remained intact, despite the violent concussion. Small fragments of paint flaked off, falling like dust onto the floor plates. The smell of burnt grease and hot metal filled the air. Each man's gaze flicked from the damage on the hull to the faces surrounding him. Relief flickered beneath a layer of raw fear. They had survived this instant, no one was hurt. But the danger was far from over. Bell wiped sweat from his brow, knuckles white as he gripped the control lever. The radio crackle still whispered silence. Without communication, the tank was isolated, exposed. The men exchanged glances that spoke of uncertainty and resolve. The Sherman's engine growled beneath them, steady but strained. Outside, the battlefield noises persisted. The distant boom of artillery, the crack of small arms fire, the muted rumble of advancing troops. Each sound sharpened their awareness of vulnerability. Inside the tank, the confined space pressed in around them. The smell of oil mixed with sweat, and the sharp tang of burnt metal. The scent of danger lingered, thick and hard to shake. Bell's voice dropped to a low, steady command. "Keep moving. Stay sharp." His words carried weight, a reminder of duty despite shaking nerves. Orders were both shield and burden in moments like these. The men nodded, muscles tight but ready. Mary adjusted the radio's controls again, fingers trembling slightly as he tried to reestablish contact. The silence continued, oppressive and complete. Outside the hatch, a gray haze of smoke and dust blurred the landscape. The sun was hidden behind a layer of clouds, casting a flat, pale light over the war-torn earth. The landscape was scarred. Broken trees, shattered buildings, churned mud. Inside, the tank's vibrations returned to a steady rhythm as it rolled forward. The crew's hands clenched the controls, knuckles whitening under the strain. Each man fought to control rising anxiety beneath a calm exterior. The shell's strike had been a harsh reminder of their place in the conflict. Steel and fire met in a brutal instant. The men's survival depended on the strength of their armor and the steadiness of their minds. Bell's eyes lingered on the damaged seam at Mary's side, knowing that luck was a fragile. The tank could take another hit, but not always so close. The line between protection and destruction was narrow and unforgiving. The crew adjusted their focus back to the mission. The tank ground forward into the uncertain terrain. Every movement was deliberate, measured. Fear was held in check by training and the weight of command. Inside, the men's breathing grew steady again. Their faces, illuminated by the faint green glow of instrument lights, showed the quiet resolve of men accustomed to danger. The moment passed, but its echo remained. No words were spoken about what might have happened. The shared silence contained everything they dared not say aloud. The tank's hull bore the scar of survival, a mute witness to the violence outside. The radio remained dead, an empty channel in the midst of chaos. Communication lost, the crew relied on their own senses and each other. In the isolation, their trust and discipline became their strongest armor. As the Sherman pushed onward, the men's eyes briefly met again. Each recognized the same mixture of relief and fear reflected back. They carried the weight of survival and the unspoken knowledge of what could come next. The tank moved steadily through the battle-scarred landscape. Inside, the crew's hands remained firm on the controls. Their knuckles white, their resolve quiet but unyielding. The sharp crack of artillery broke the tense silence again, closer this time. A second shell slammed into the earth near the tank's left side, sending a violent shudder through Lucky Mary. The metal groaned under the impact, reverberating through the turret. A choking plume of dense, acrid smoke burst inside, filling the confined space with a bitter, biting haze. Wilkes instinctively coughed, his throat raw as he blinked rapidly, eyes wide and searching through the fog. The smoke clung to his uniform, stinging his skin and filling every breath with an uneasy sharpness. The world beyond the periscope blurred into shadows and smoke. "SS, sir, we're hit again," Samuel's voice cracked, slightly rising above the chaos. He spat a dark fleck of grit from his mouth. His shoulders tensed, muscles rigid beneath his oil-stained overalls. The cold reality pressed on them all. The tank lurched under the strike, tilting slightly to the left. The vibrations throbbed through the hull, rattling every loose bolt and panel. Yet despite the violent jolt, the tank remained intact. Lucky Mary held firm, the thick armor absorbing the blow. Bell's voice cut through the smoke and noise, steady and commanding. "Return fire now!" His tone left no room for hesitation, the weight of command settling heavily on his shoulders. The men knew the stakes. Every second counted. The loader's hands trembled visibly, fingers shaking as they gripped the heavy shell. His breath came in short, uneven gasps, the fear sharpening his focus despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. Slowly, deliberately, he slotted the round into the breech and slammed it home. Outside the tank, the battlefield was a grim tableau of fire and smoke. Other Shermans burned in the distance, black smoke spiraling against the gray sky. The sharp crackle of flames mixed with the distant thud of artillery, a relentless soundtrack to the fight. Inside Lucky Mary, the welds along the turret seam creaked but held firm. Bell's eyes flicked to the reinforced metal plates, a small reassurance amid the chaos. The crew felt the imperceptible flecks of steel that separated survival from destruction. Though the smoke obscured much of their view, every man's senses sharpened. The fear that had seized them moments before transformed. It became a precise awareness, a razor-edged focus on the task at hand. Each breath, each movement carried purpose. Wilkes wiped sweat mixed with soot from his brow, his jaw clenched tight. The acrid taste of smoke lingered on his tongue. He adjusted the optic sight, searching for the source of enemy fire through the haze. Samuel's hands gripped the radio handset, dispatching terse updates. His voice was steady now, trained by countless hours in the field. The urgency did not waver, but panic had given way to resolve. Bell's gaze swept over his crew, noting the tension etched into their faces. No words passed between them, only the silent understanding that their survival relied on discipline and rapid response. Outside, the earth trembled under renewed bombardment. The distant report of machine gun fire crackled intermittently. The battle raged, but Lucky Mary remained a stubborn island of resistance amid the chaos. The loader rammed another shell into the breach, the metallic clang echoing within the turret. Bell ordered fire, and the main gun roared, spitting flame and smoke as the round sped toward its target. In the brief lull after firing, the crew listened intently. The distant thud of explosions mingled with the steady hiss of escaping steam. The tank's engine idled beneath them, a constant reminder of the fragile machine beneath their feet. The welds held. The armor stood. The men inside Lucky Mary drew breath, steadying themselves for the next assault. Fear had not vanished, but it was now tempered with grim determination. Bell's voice, low and resolute, broke the silence. "Keep alert. We hold here." The command was simple, yet heavy with the knowledge of what it meant. They were the line between safety and destruction. Outside the turret, the battlefield stretched into a grim horizon of smoke and flame. Inside, the crew of Lucky Mary prepared to face whatever came next, bound by duty and the quiet strength of command. The Dakota's engines droned low, their steady hum barely audible beneath the wind stirring dry grass around the stone farmhouse. The squadron's battered transports huddled close, dust settling onto cracked paint and canvas flaps. A thin veil of smoke lingered near the fields, the residue of earlier shell bursts fading under the pale afternoon sky. Inside the farmhouse's shadow, the crew gathered, bodies obscured in deep pockets of shade. The air hung heavy with the quiet that follows combat, the absence of gunfire filling the space more than any noise could. The men sat or leaned against cold stone walls, faces marked by soot and faint streaks of sweat. Bell stood apart, hands resting lightly on the jagged edge of the damaged wing. His eyes narrowed as he traced the crooked seam with careful fingertips, mapping the uneven weld that held the metal skin together. The rough texture under his touch spoke of hurried repairs, a patchwork effort to keep the plane airborne. His jaw tightened. He did not speak. The men nearby glanced at him briefly, reading the tension in his posture, but said nothing either. The silence stretched, carrying the weight of unspoken fears and disciplined restraint. Around them, tin cans clinked softly as the men opened their rations. The dull scrape of spoons against metal filled the hush, a fragile rhythm amid the stillness. They ate in small bites, faces shaded by the brim of helmets or the fold of scarves, eyes distant or fixed on the meager meal. Dust clung to their uniforms, stiff with dried sweat and grime. Fingers moved mechanically, muscles slack from hours in cramped cockpits and relentless vigilance. The occasional cough or swallowed breath punctuated the quiet, each sound a reminder of their worn bodies. Conversations were sparse, phrases clipped and few. A grunt here, a nod there, words too burdened by fatigue to flow freely. The men shared no illusions, each knew the fragility of their position. The next shell could strike without warning, shattering the fragile calm. One of the younger crewmen glanced toward the horizon where dark clouds gathered, the looming threat mirrored in his wide, watchful eyes. He swallowed hard, then returned his gaze to the muted landscape, fingers tightening around the spoon. Bell finally lowered his hand from the wing, stepping back with deliberate calm. He surveyed the group, noting the drawn faces, the quiet resolve etched into every line. His command held steady, even as doubt pressed beneath the surface. The wind shifted, carrying the faint scent of smoke and earth. It mingled with the metallic tang of fuel and the stale odor of canvas and leather. The farmhouse stood as a silent sentinel, walls scarred but solid, sheltering the men from the open fields beyond. A distant rumble rolled faintly, a reminder of the ongoing battle, a distant artillery exchange, muffled but ever-present. The men flinched almost imperceptibly, eyes flicking toward the sound, then back to their own stillness. Bell reached into his jacket, producing a small, folded photograph. Without a word, he passed it to the man nearest him. The young soldier held it carefully, eyes tracing the faded image of a woman's face. A brief, shared moment of humanity passed between them. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the rough stone and cracked earth. The warmth faded, replaced by the creeping chill that follows dusk in these fields. The men gathered their belongings slowly, preparing for the next move, muscles stiff and joints aching. Bell moved to the doorway, scanning the horizon once more before turning inward. His breath was steady, voice reserved as he issued quiet orders to prepare the aircraft for departure. The work was methodical, practiced, each movement precise and purposeful. As night crept forward, the farmhouse became a refuge not only from the elements, but from the uncertainty pressing at their minds. The men absorbed the silence, each contemplating what tomorrow might hold, the tenuous line between survival and loss. The engines idled on, a steady heartbeat in the stillness. The scars on the Dakota's wing told their own story, of resilience, strain, and the cost of command. Bell's frown lingered, but he remained composed, embodying the quiet dignity that held the crew together in the face of relentless peril. The afternoon sky hung low, heavy with a gray that muted the light, lending the battlefield a dull, oppressive weight. The distant rumble of engines stirred the chill air as the crew inside the tank prepared for movement. Orders crackled through the command channel moments before, terse and resolute. Advance again. The tank's engine coughed to life, its growl deep and steady beneath the rumble of distant artillery. Outside, the treads gripped the churned earth, cutting through the thick mud that clung to every surface. Each rotation lifted and slammed the heavy links down, sending sprays of wet soil and grit into the. Inside the cramped hull, vibrations coursed through metal and bone alike. Samuel sat rigid in his seat, eyes fixed ahead through the narrow viewport, the faint scent of oil and damp steel thick around him. The silence between the crew was taut, every man listening for the telltale crack or whistle of incoming fire. The radio remained stubbornly dead, its silence a reminder of their isolation amid the chaos. Suddenly, the world outside erupted. A third shell struck with a force that shook the tank violently, the impact landing on the same side as before. The metallic groan of stressed armor filled the compartment, mingling with the sharp clatter of loosened fittings. The seam along the hull shuddered, a thin crack spiderwebbing just enough to catch the light. Inside, the crew braced instinctively, hands gripping whatever they could. Samuel's breath caught sharply as the tank jarred, the armor buckling under the assault. Small fragments of shrapnel tore through the air in a staccato rattle, pinging against the interior with alarming proximity. A sharp sting drew his eye. When he wiped at it, fingers came away slick with warm blood from a shallow cut above his brow. Bell's hands moved quickly but with visible tremors, pulling a clean strip of cloth from his pocket. He pressed it firmly against Samuel's wound, steadying his own breathing as he worked. The cloth darkened as it absorbed the blood, but Bell's expression remained composed, his eyes steady despite the silence broken only by the tank's heavy breathing. Outside the narrow viewport, the landscape blurred past in shades of brown and gray, churned earth interspersed with fallen branches and shattered trees. The rain had ceased, but the ground showed the mark of earlier storms, puddles reflecting broken light amid the mud. The tank's forward progress was slow but unyielding, the machine pressing onward despite the threat. The radio remained dead. No crackle of friendly voices, no static-laden updates. The crew's isolation was total. Their fate depended entirely on their own resilience and command discipline. Inside the metal shell, the weight of responsibility settled on each man's shoulders. Survival demanded both vigilance and composure. Every clank and clatter inside the hull echoed louder now, each sound magnified in the enclosed space. The tank's engine thrummed steadily, a constant reminder of the fragile protection it offered. Outside, the muted thuds of distant explosions punctuated the silence, marking the ongoing battle's grim rhythm. Samuels wiped at his eye again, the sting now mingled with fatigue. Bell's bandage stayed firm, his steady fingers a quiet comfort amid the harshness. Neither man spoke, understanding that any unnecessary noise might betray their position or break the fragile calm. The seam on the hull held. Though split slightly, the armor had not given way. The crew remained intact, bodies bruised and nerves frayed but unbroken. The tank rolled forward, dirt and mud splattering against its armored sides as it pushed deeper into the contested ground. Within the tight confines, the men exchanged brief glances, a shared acknowledgement of what had passed and what might come next. The tension lingered, an unspoken bond forged in the furnace of repeated assaults. No words were needed to convey the weight of command, the quiet resolve driving them onward. The afternoon light waned further, shadows lengthening across the battlefield. The tank's steady advance carved a path through the mud, its presence a testament to endurance against relentless odds. Inside, the crew prepared silently for what the next moments might bring, their will as unyielding as the steel that enclosed them. Night fell quietly over the shattered landscape as the platoon gathered near the battered hull of their tank, Lucky Mary. The air was heavy with the damp chill of early evening, carrying the faint scent of smoke and earth. Shadows stretched long and blurred, settling over the men like a thin blanket. Lucky Mary sat still, her steel sides scarred and dented from the day's assault. The dull gleam of the moonlight caught the jagged edges where shell fragments had torn into the armor. Her turret hatch hung slightly ajar, a silent reminder of the close calls the crew had endured. Inside the dim circle of men, silence prevailed. Faces were streaked with grime and sweat, eyes red-rimmed from fatigue. Bell sat on a rough wooden crate, his back hunched as he pressed pen to paper. His fingers cramped from the effort, the ink smudging slightly on the coarse sheet. He wrote slowly, deliberately. The letter to his wife was careful, measured, no mention of the crooked seam that had held against the blast, no hint of the near misses that had shaken his nerves. He described the mundane, the weather, the food, the routine. The words felt awkward in his mouth, a shield against the truth he could not voice. Near him, Wilkes knelt by the tank's hull, wiping thick layers of mud and dust away with a rag. His hands moved methodically, fingers tracing the jagged line of a damaged weld. The metal was cold, scarred but whole. His jaw tightened as he examined the fracture, the faintest tremor of concern in his otherwise steady gaze. The men around them sat motionless, conserving energy. Some cleaned their weapons with precise, quiet motions. Others stared into the darkening woods beyond the clearing. No one spoke of luck, though it clung to their breaths like the night chill. The word seemed hollow now, a superstition drowned in the reality of shattered steel and close calls. A faint rustle of leaves, the soft murmur of distant artillery, and the occasional creak of settling wood were the only sounds. The night wrapped around them like a shroud, indifferent to their presence. Each man felt the weight of the day settle deep into his bones, settling in the small aches and the tightness of worn muscles. Bell paused mid-sentence, lowering the letter. His eyes flicked to the tank's battered side, where the crooked seam held firm. The thought of what might have happened if it had failed pressed on his chest, but he swallowed it down. The letter must carry hope, not despair. Wilkes finished cleaning the weld, pressing his palm flat against the cold steel. His breath misted in the cool air. For a long moment, he said nothing, as if the silence itself carried the meaning they all shared. The tank had survived, so had they. That was enough for now. Somewhere in the distance, a faint bark of a dog echoed, sharp and sudden against the quiet night. A reminder that the world beyond the war still turned, indifferent. The men shifted, some lying back against their packs, others curling into small bundles of exhaustion. The platoon ate in near silence, hard biscuits, cold rations passed hand to hand. The smell of stale bread mixed with the metallic tang of sweat and oil. They swallowed quickly, eyes fixed on the dark horizon, waiting for sleep to claim them. No one spoke of the day's luck. The word hung unsaid between them, a fragile thread connecting each man's thoughts, too fragile to hold in the harsh light of reality. Instead, they simply breathed, steady, slow, persistent. As the night deepened, the tank stood guard in the clearing, silent and still. Lucky Mary bore her scars without complaint, a testament to the men who had trusted her armor and their lives. Outside, the platoon settled into restless sleep, dreams shadowed by the day's close escapes. The quiet command of survival filled the space between them, a shared command to endure, to hold fast through what the dawn might bring. In the blackness, the men kept watch over each other, watchful, weary, but unbroken. The night passed without incident. When the first pale light crept over the trees, it found Lucky Mary still standing, the men around her silent but present. The scars remained, the hidden damage untouched. The legacy of the day rested here, in the stillness, in the unspoken resolve of a platoon bound by more than steel. The low rumble of an approaching truck broke the stillness of the dusty field. A repair crew, clad in oil-streaked overalls and heavy boots, came into view through the haze of heat and sand. Their faces were lined with dirt and concentration, expressions practiced from countless days spent amid the grime of mechanized war. Two engineers stepped down from the vehicle, their hands steady despite the weight of expectation hanging in the air. They approached the Sherman tank, its weary frame scarred and patched, the odd weld along its side catching the afternoon light. The metal shimmered unevenly, a subtle curve that disrupted the tank's usual straight lines. One engineer crouched low, tracing a gloved finger along the seam. He tapped the surface with a small hammer, listening intently to the hollow ring beneath the patch. The sound was uneven, a reminder of the tank's near failure and the hurried repair that had kept it alive. "Should have failed," the engineer muttered under his breath, eyes narrowing as he examined the weld. His voice was low but firm, a statement made without surprise or judgment. The phrase hung quietly between the men, a recognition of the fragility beneath the machine's rugged exterior. Without further words, the engineer produced a torch and a set of tools, beginning methodically to reinforce the seam. Sparks flew softly in brief arcs, casting flickering shadows on the tank's battered armor. The heat from the torch glowed against the engineer's face, staining it with a brief flush of light. Around them, the repair crew stood silent, their hands resting on hips or crossed over chests. They watched with measured attention, the unspoken bond between those who built and those who fought palpable in their stillness. The men understood the delicate balance between strength and vulnerability in every piece of machinery. The air was thick with dust and the faint scent of oil and burnt metal. The tank sat motionless, grounded in the earth, yet the quiet hum of purpose seemed to resonate from its frame. The crew's faces were set, eyes steady, but reflecting the weight of what lay ahead. After several minutes, the engineer stepped back and inspected his work. He nodded briefly to his partner, who ran a diagnostic check using a portable meter. The device beeped softly, confirming the tank's readiness. "It's good," the lead engineer stated plainly, voice carrying the finality of command. "Fit for battle." The tank commander, standing nearby with his crew, absorbed the words without a smile or relief. His jaw tightened as he returned his gaze to the tank, measuring its strength anew. The past failures were unseen scars, now sealed beneath reinforced steel. One by one, the crew climbed back into the Sherman's open hatches. Their movements were deliberate, practiced, each man attuned to the machine that would carry them into the coming fight. Helmets were adjusted, radios checked, gear secured with quiet precision. Outside, the sun lowered toward the horizon, casting long shadows across the field. The repaired tank sat ready, a testament to endurance and the hands that had refused to let it fail. The air held a stillness, broken only by the soft clink of metal and the distant murmur of other vehicles gathering. There was no boasting, no grand gestures, only the shared understanding between men whose lives depended on this battered instrument of war. The engineers and the tank crew exchanged brief glances, a mutual respect that needed no words. As the Sherman rumbled to life, the sound was deeper, steadier than before. The engine's steady growl filled the air, blending with the quiet determination painted on the faces of those inside. They were ready to move forward together. The repair crew packed their tools, their work complete for now. They stepped back, watching as the tank edged forward, wheels turning with renewed purpose. The faint dust trail behind it marked the continuation of a mission that neither men nor machines could afford to abandon. In that moment, the tank was more than metal and welds. It was the sum of countless hands and unyielding will. The legacy of those who built and those who fought, welded together in silent command and steady resolve. Weeks after the fierce battles that had tested every ounce of their resolve, Bell's Sherman tank, Lucky Mary, rumbled cautiously down the narrow road of a small French village. The sun hung low, casting long shadows over the crumbling stone walls and shuttered windows. Dust stirred beneath the tank's heavy tracks, lifting in lazy clouds that caught the fading light. The air held the faint scent of smoke and earth, mingled with the distant murmur of life returning to this war-worn corner. Children appeared suddenly along the roadside, their faces bright against the rubble. They ran forward with outstretched hands, waving small flags hastily fashioned from scraps of cloth. Their laughter cracked the silence, sharp and clear, cutting through the heavy fatigue that clung to the soldiers. Women, standing behind the children, called out greetings in fractured English and warm French. Their cheers lifted the spirits of the crew, worn but unbroken. Inside the Sherman, Bell's crew exchanged glances, the lines of exhaustion softening around tired eyes. Their helmets rested beside maps and ration tins, the metal interior smelling of oil and sweat. Bell gripped the steering controls with hands steady yet marked by weeks of strain. His gaze swept over the village, taking in the tentative smiles and hopeful eyes that met his own. The tank's armor bore scars of its own. Near the hatch, where the crew had taken refuge during enemy fire, the weld that Mary had made was still visible beneath layers of scratched and chipped paint. The imperfection, a thin, uneven line of metal, stood as a quiet testament to her skill and haste. It was a subtle flaw, almost hidden, but the men knew it was there. They never met Mary, the welder who worked behind the lines, yet they carried her work with them. Each jolt of the Sherman's movement reminded them of that weld, a fragile promise of protection amid chaos. The flaw had never failed them, just as their careful watch and unspoken trust in one another had kept them alive. Inside the tank, the clatter of shifting gears and the low hum of the engine filled the space, punctuated by the occasional murmur of the men acknowledging the passing village. The road ahead stretched through fields still scarred by war, but the sounds of life returning, birds, distant voices, the clatter of carts, were now unmistakable. Bell's grip relaxed slightly as they moved forward, the weight of command settling into a quieter form. Relief was tempered by the knowledge that the war was not over, but in this moment, the village's welcome was a reprieve. Bell caught the eye of his gunner, who gave a small nod, a silent acknowledgement of the shared burden and fleeting peace. The loader adjusted his gear, muscles still tense from the recent past, but easing with the gentle vibrations beneath his feet. Their faces, illuminated by the last light of day, showed lines of weariness and gratitude intertwined. Outside, an elderly man stepped forward, leaning on a cane. His eyes held stories of hardship and resilience. He looked up at the tank, then at the men inside, and offered a quiet nod of thanks. The crew returned the gesture, understanding the unspoken bond between those who endure war's harshness and those who survive it. The Sherman's horn sounded briefly, a low, steady note that mingled with the village's sounds. Children waved harder, some running alongside the tracks, their shoes kicking up dust. Women lifted their voices in song, tentative but joyous, filling the air with a fragile hope. The tank's metal frame, heavy and scarred, moved steadily onward, carrying not only men and machinery but the weight of countless unseen hands. Mary's weld, hidden beneath the faded paint and battle grime, was more than a mark on metal. It was a symbol of unseen labor and quiet courage, a connection between the home front and the front lines. The men inside the tank bore that connection silently, each aware that their survival rested on countless such acts of skill and care. As Lucky Mary disappeared down the lane, the village's sounds slowly faded into the evening. The men returned their focus to the road ahead, the next orders, the uncertain tomorrow. Yet beneath the surface of command and duty, there remained a quiet dignity in carrying forward the work of those who fought alongside them in different ways. The Sherman, its scarred hull gleaming faintly under the moonlight, was a legacy. Not just of battle, but of endurance, of fragile hope welded carefully into steel. Bell and his crew would never meet the welder whose hands had shaped that shield, but they carried her work, and their own luck, with them every day that followed. The war's end arrived not with fanfare, but in muted relief, echoing through empty fields and silent yards. Rows of Sherman tanks, once roaring beneath heavy skies, stood still, some stripped of parts, others left to rust beneath drifting leaves and steady rain. Mary Foster returned to the factory, stepping carefully among worn machinery and familiar tools. The pulse of wartime production had quieted, but the rhythm of her labor remained steady and unbroken. Each day passed with the quiet discipline of hands long trained to build, repair, and sustain. The peace did not erase the memory of those days welded in haste, nor the weight of knowing a single imperfection could mean the difference between life and death. Bell and his crew dispersed across the country, their uniforms replaced by civilian clothes, but the bond forged in the cramped, steel belly of the Sherman endured. Each carried the memory of close calls, shell bursts that shook their world, the rasp of gears shifting under fire, and moments of silence that spoke louder than any command. They spoke little of the Lucky Mary, for its story was never written in headlines or celebrated in victory parades. Yet the quiet truth remained between them. The flawed weld, the imperfect seam, had become a margin between destruction and survival. It was a testament not to perfection, but to the human touch, steadfast, determined, and unyielding even in imperfection. History, unseen by many, lingered there, in hands that built, in lives that endured, in the silent legacy of ordinary efforts shaping extraordinary outcomes.